Is it happening? I wouldn't doubt that there's probably 100 or more threads a day that are posted on 4chan's poll stating this very thing. Is it happening? I have to admit, over the last couple of years, spider web. Damn spiders, man. I always walk through damn fucking spider webs out here. Anyway, I have to admit, the last couple of years, seems like there has been more happenings than usual. Let's see, I'm walking down the holler here. Anyway, it certainly seems that way. And I mean, with the whole pandemic, these attempted forced vaccinations, with U.S. fleeing from the Taliban, all these happenings. And I admit, I think there is more happenings. But I also think that it's important for us to bear in mind that we have to take into account that there's literally a camera or camcorder in everyone's pocket, and that we are more inundated with news, with happenings than ever. Pretty easy to see. So, I think it's important. This is just a question that I've been thinking about the last few days. Are there really more happenings, or has it always been this way? Seen that spider web, not going to walk through it. Now, let me get set up here, and we'll shoot the shit about this subject a little more. So, now that I'm sitting here on my tree trunk, relaxing, talk a little bit more about this subject. So yeah, I think that there are more happenings due to all the insanity, for lack of a better word, that's going on, that the elites are pushing. But I think it's important to not get too caught up in this shit. You know, I'll be honest with you. The other day, a couple of days ago, I went to a cabin with Miranda's family about an hour and a half north of here. Didn't have very good internet service, and it was wonderful. It was outstanding. Went fishing on the lake, walked to a 250-foot high waterfall. I might post a video of it later. But it was good to get away from the nonsense. It was wonderful. I think it's important for us not to get too caught up in all this demoralizing bullshit that the media puts out there. You know, here on this channel, I don't like to talk very much about current events, necessarily. I may mention them, but I'm not going to sit here and waste your time talking about the fucking news cycle. Because, I mean, how many fucking people are out there covering it? I mean, you know, there's the mainstream media, and, you know, I don't know many people that watches their nonsense anymore. But then, I mean, you've got all these independent content creators who talk about the same things and how you should feel about it. You know, I don't want to get too caught up in it. You know, I think it's good to kind of be aware, but I mean, it doesn't do you very much good to, you know, just dwell on it. And it doesn't do you a whole lot of good to let it just absolutely demoralize you. I don't like talking so much about current events. So many other people doing it. Which, I mean, I guess it's an endless supply of fodder to make material about. But I'm not into that. Care less. You know, I've seen a lot of our guys, like on Telegram or elsewhere, you know, talking about Tucker Carlson recently mentioning the Great Replacement. About how this is a good thing. It's about fucking time that Mr. Carlson said something about it. And you know, I guess it's a good thing, but I mean, honestly, I just can't help but feel it's too little, too fucking late. Too little, too late. Should have been talking about this years ago. Decades ago, perhaps. Should have been talking about it in 1965. With the Hart-Celler Act. Should have been talking about it in 2015 at least. You know, all these decades, so much time has fucking passed. Too little, too late. And you know, the only mainstream show, news show that I seldom that I watch is Tucker. I don't agree with everything he says, certainly. He's not one of our guys. Although he does touch upon subjects that are somewhat relevant to us. Plus, I'm aware too, you know, that Tucker had applied for, you know, a position in the CIA, you know, and then he ends up, you know, becoming a journalist or whatever. Pretty typical deal, sounds like to me. So, you know, a lot of the things, and I mean, I know months ago, I remember seeing on his show once or twice him talking about UFO phenomenon. To me, it feels like we're being conditioned for something, you know. Certainly. Some aliens show up. Says, you know, it's a fine civilization you have here. To really excel, form a one-world government. Yeah, I'm not very fond of the whole UFO phenomena thing. I'm not saying that it isn't possible. I've often thought, though, that you're much more likely to see spirits, perhaps spirits of the dead, than you are some being from 100 million light years away. I don't know, that's just my opinion. Could be wrong. But you see, all of us, we've known what Tucker had spoken about. And you know, the usual suspects are kvetching, calling for his job. You know, it's all just fucking theater. Literally. As I see it. Pretty much just theater. Usual suspects calling for his job. But a lot of our guys are heralding this as something big and important. And great. Is it really that fucking great? Is it? We're still declining in numbers. Not only that, we're declining in quality. White people, largely, are worthless consumers, only concerned about their paycheck, about Netflix, about the next iPhone. Most of them are selfish and just completely stupid. It's harsh truth. And I don't even know if these people are worth the time. Why waste time? We ain't got much left. You know, Tucker mentioning this is nothing. It doesn't stop the flood of fucking migrants, all them Haitians. It's not doing a goddamn thing to stop it. It's not doing a fucking thing to stop the opiate problem and the meth problem in rural white areas. Not doing a fucking thing. Not one goddamn thing. But we're supposed to believe that this is some sort of white pill. We all already know the fucking score. Alright? Yeah. Thousands, tens of thousands of Haitians coming across the Texas border. Does this surprise you? Does it really? Does it surprise you in the least? Doesn't me. I already know the fucking score. Does any of this actually surprise you. Doesn't surprise me. And I don't pay much attention to it anymore. And you know, I'm honestly in these circles, how often have you seen a guy post a video clip of a group of black people beating on a white person? I've seen this so many fucking times. I already know the fucking score. Most white people are gonna sit there and take it. You know, one video that really sticks out in my mind, and you know, I don't want to fucking see that shit. I don't know. What are you trying to prove posting it? There is one video that sticks out in my mind that I seen a couple months ago. It was at a high school. It was in a lunchroom, the cafeteria. There was a black boy. Not a very big black boy either. Fairly skinny. Throwing blows with this large white football player. He was a big boy. He was a lineman, in fact, because he had his football jersey on. I would say it was a Friday. I know when I was in high school on Fridays, game day, we wore football jerseys. He's sitting there minding his own business, and this little black kid, this little black boy, just comes up just flailing away. And the white football player just stands up, tries to stand up. He gets hit like 40 times during this fucking video clip. And he's just trying to back away, getting hit in the face, getting hit in the chest, trying to back away with his hands up. Why did this white football player take this bullshit? And I mean, the black boy's punches, they weren't really phasing him in the least. I mean, he was able to get up. Didn't look like it was doing him too much harm, but he was so concerned about why was he acting like this? Some people said it was because he was afraid of the consequences. Some fucking time, the consequences are gonna have to be damned. Or you're just gonna sit there and take it like a bitch. We've been taking it like a bitch for fucking decades now. You know, it's discouraging if you let it get that way. Sometime consequences will have to go out the door. It's just how it is. You know, I don't pay a lot of attention to these things anymore because I done know the score. I'd rather talk about other things. Historical things. Make a fishing video. Get out in the woods. Perhaps perform a ritual like I did in my last video. Just something interesting, something different. And you know, a while back I got into an argument with a guy online. Something that I usually try not to do, but he started in on me and I didn't have nothing to do right at that second, so did it. And he was saying, you know, he was criticizing me for posting a picture of William Luther Pierce on his birthday, saying that, you know, I sounded reasonable usually, which I'd consider myself a reasonable person, but I am unreasonable about certain things. And I think you're being dishonest, all of us are being dishonest, that if we don't admit to such a thing. But he was talking about how we were all talking about the collapse. That is a very hot topic right now. For good reason. You see all the insanity, all the inflation, all of that. He was talking about how, honestly, myself, I'm for the collapse. This country is completely corrupt. The people that build it are the villains now. We have been for decades. Hear my dog up there barking. Anyway, I could care less about this country. I like some of the people, and I love the land, some of it at least. Here in Appalachia, beautiful. I've never been much of anywhere else. Pacific Northwest would be nice. I did think Louisiana was nice, but it's a bit too hot down there. But overall, I despise our government, and he was talking about, you know, getting off our asses and engaging in political discourse, activism, all that shit. I don't have time for it. And why try to engage with a system that hates you? That absolutely hates you. Why do it? A system that is rigged, that's corrupt, and that hates you. Why engage? Why waste your time? I see no sense in it. Some of you may. And if you do, well, good luck to you. But myself, I don't have any faith in such things. That time, that ship has long sailed away. Long sailed away. But anyway, and another thing I've noticed, and my friend has pointed this out numerous times actually in our conversations, it seems that a lot of the more prominent members, the big names, I'm not going to name any names, but the big names that are pointed to our guys as people that we should follow, most of these people I would argue are plants of some form, some kind. I've mentioned this before, and there's people smarter than me that's looked into these people's past. Seems pretty self-evident, to be honest. But a lot of these new big, well, I ain't gonna say they're new because I guess they've been around for several years. They try to point out, they post a lot of this news. They're just journalists basically that post a lot of news about the very things that I just talked about. You know, it's like they try to approach our problem through they have a path of civil rights, it seems. Trying to emulate what minorities in this country did back in the 60s about discrimination, desegregation, all that. Yeah, it's pretty fucking obvious that if you're white, you're discriminated against nowadays. Absolutely. And I did hear someone saying in a video or something that I happened to watch a few days ago, saying that now in the United States, over half of the white population believes that they face discrimination from the system. About fucking time that you see this. But they have this idea of, trying to reenact this civil rights movement for us. This is a waste of fucking time. The only reason that the civil rights movement worked back in the 60s is because the powers that be wanted it to happen. That's what they wished for. That's what they got. We don't have that. In fact, we look weak and stupid believing in such things. Just a complete waste of time. Anything else to rant about? Yeah, my advice is don't get too caught up in the news cycle. You see all the stuff happening down in Australia with all the medical tyranny. That sort of thing looks like it's probably heading our way. You see all the craziness in South Africa, probably heading our way. You see the floods of migrants several years ago into Europe. Shit's happening here. It's best advice I've got is to maybe network some, get a small group of people you trust, engage with a few people online. You may be separated by hundreds, if not thousands of miles, and you need to do what you can to become self-reliant, the best of your abilities. Get out of the city, get into the country. This is just, I feel like I'm just wasting your time now because I've talked about this shit before. But as far as the news cycle, yeah, there may be more happenings, and I think there will be more continuing. And I do think that perhaps a collapse is imminent, but we've got to bear in mind, is this a collapse, or is it a controlled demolition? I think it's a controlled demolition, but my hopes, I've said it before, I'm an accelerationist, my hopes are that the elites perhaps have pushed a little too far, a little too fast, and that something will happen. and it'll get out of their control. They've done this before. They've made this same mistake before. They did it back in the 1910s, 20s. This has happened before, and we all know what happens next. So, I'm done ranting. Don't let this shit get you down. And don't dwell on it. It's good to be aware. You gotta have balance. It's good to be aware of things, but don't dwell too deeply on it, because, I mean, we done fucking know. We done know the score. We've known it for a while. And things are going to get worse. But I think the only way forward is through the fire. Thank y'all for watching. Bye-bye.